What's up, dividend investors? Mike Hiro here for Dividend Stocks Rock. I hope you're doing well. Today, we are going to talk about retirement planning. Most importantly, the number one question all retirees have is, do I have enough money to retire? To answer this question, the answer is quite simple. You have to run multiple financial projections, but yet you will have the feeling that you have not covered all angles. You will enter into retirement with a little bit of stress that will prevent you from enjoying your retirement plan, and also probably spend less than you should to reward yourself for the sacrifice that you made to finally enjoy life at retirement. And the only way to reassure yourself and to give you the permission to spend some money and shift your mindset from, oh, I must add capital to my portfolio, and actually withdraw money, enjoy life, is to double check with a stress test for your plan. And today we're going to look at 2 ways you can stress test your plan to ensure that you can enjoy retirement stress-free. All right, so before we do any stress tests, we need an optimized plan. So we are going to use the RL projection sheet provided at Retirement Loop. Retirement Loop is my membership website where I help people to build their retirement plan, invest accordingly, and enjoy their retirement. So we're going to take a look at this one. We have Jack and Jill situation, and right before we start doing some stress tests, we are going to use the RL projection to actually optimize the entire spreadsheet. So the way it works is quite simple. We click on the estate optimizer, and then the spreadsheet is going to run hundreds of simulation. So while it is being calculating in the back, I can present you Jack and Jill. So they are in their 50s, young 50s actually. They expect to retire at the age of 65. They do have an annual budget of $95,000, including a 5% charitable donation and an inflation of like 2.1% for their budget. As they retire, they will maintain the same annual budget, mostly because they want to travel, they want to spend a little bit more, but eventually in their 70s, they expect to sell their house in 2050. You will see the price of the new residence that is going to be like $500,000, so get something a little bit smaller, and of course, also slowing down their annual budget, mostly because they're going to be done with their bucket list, done with traveling, and they're going to enter into the slow go phase. They still have a mortgage. We can see here that we have optimized the CPP and OAS at the age of 70. And while we see that we don't have any red bar here telling us that there's a problem, we also see that the net estate at the age of 100 actually is 2.8 million, including $1.2 million in funds. Those are future dollars. So if you want to get back down on hurt, you can see into current dollars. So of course it will be about $1 million in the portfolio remaining at the age of 100, and then $500,000 for the home equity as well. So far seems like a pretty good plan, right? Everything is running well. We have like the income that is there. After that, we have like we were starting to withdraw money from the registered funds. That's the yellow bar. The gray bar is the pension. It increases as you get CPP and OAS. Everything balances, and then up you go. You can keep on moving with your retirement plan. But just 1 second. So the first optimization here, the first stress test that you should do is actually to say, well, what if Jack dies from a heart attack at the age of 75? And then boom, what you see there is because there was a pension plan involved, and Jack's pension plan will only pay 50% of the benefit to Jill if he passes away. We can see this big red bar here. That's not working. There's a problem. So then you can think of, okay, so imagine that we have to play around with the budget. So it's going to tell you probably that you'll have to drop the budget maybe at $60,000 to see if it's going to work out. And then you can see that we almost reached the year of 100. At this level, I would feel comfortable to say to Jill, well, you know what? If your husband passes away early, you will have to reduce your budget and probably have like a more agile budget during the slow go phase, where you may eventually have to sell your house completely and move into a retirement home. So maybe we can say in your 80s, you're going to sell the home completely, and then you're going to go to a budget of $80,000 just to see to pay for the senior home, and then it would work out as well. As you can see in future dollar, then Jill will still be able to live until the age of 100 and have $700,000 in her bank account. And of course, if you go into current value, we're talking about like $250,000. So it's pretty close to die with zero, but with a small tweak, you'll be able to make those modifications and know that even if Jack passes away very early, it's still, the plan is still going to work. So we're going to go back now to the original projection that is optimized, and we're going to run into the next stress test for the retirement plan, which is even more important because of course Jack is in good shape, he's in good health, so he's going to live past the age of 75. But what if today is the worst day on the stock market to be invested? So is your portfolio is able to take a major hit on year one of the projection? So in this case, we still have a 14 years before Jack retires, but still maybe it is going to be the worst day in the market. So we're going to run that stress test because Jack and Jill has 14, 15 years ahead of them to continue to invest. It will not be that bad. But imagine that you are retired today or you're about to retire right now, and you want to know what is the worst case scenario my portfolio can take before I'm not going to be able to run to live that retirement plan that I had. So in this case, on year one, while they're still working, they can take a hit of 20% of $57,000 on the first year. So that would be 2025, the market is down 20%, and the retirement plan would just work fine. At retirement, this sequence of withdrawal is like super important. But imagine that you don't feel comfortable with only 20% drop. That's definitely not much, right? Especially if you're thinking about like a market crisis of 2008 or the tech bubble, in 2000. Those were a lot worse. So imagine now that you can reduce your budget by $70,000 here, and we're going to run another test to see if it's enough to have like a larger stress test. So as you can see, the spreadsheet is running multiple iterations to see what would be the worst case scenario that could help you still live until the retirement and go with your plan. So you see, just by declining your budget by $5,000 during the slow go phase, where you have done your bucket list, you have done traveling, you are still good, and now you can take a hit of like 35% on year one. So again, in this case, we have 15 years. Like, that's not a big source of concern, but imagine that you are about to retire and you run that stress test and it shows 20%, definitely you'll need to do some adjustment. Maybe work one more year, maybe play around with your budget, maybe look at your asset allocation to see if you can improve your returns. Not by wishful thinking, but maybe if you thought of investing 50% of your portfolio into bonds right now, maybe you could drop that a little bit, take on more volatility, but increase your expected returns. So today we have a look at two ways that you can stress test your retirement plan. The first one is to see if one of you die younger, and the other one is what happens if on year one you run into a market crash. There are some tweaks around the budget, around taking CPP and OAS a little bit later in life, or like going with your better expected returns by changing your asset allocation or working one more year. There are a lot of tweaks that you can do to make sure that you're good. And there's also one more stress test that you can run. This one is by reducing your expected returns and by increasing the inflation. So in other words, to see what would be the worst case scenario, imagine that you retire not on the year of a crash, but on the worst decade possible. I will run this stress test and show you how you can make necessary tweaks to ensure that you have a valid retirement plan in my next webinar that will happen on May 22nd. You can register at retirementloop.ca/webinar. And in this webinar, we're going to talk about 6 retirement upgrades. We're going to show you how to minimize your cost, build your retirement plan, optimize your taxes, optimize your retirement budget, stress test your plans with more options, and finally, how connecting with other retirees can help you build the plan that you need and enjoy retirement. So you can register at retirementloop.ca/webinar. There will be a free replay to all registered attendees. It's going to be on May 22nd. And as usual, I will be staying around for answering all your questions. All right, guys, that's enough for today. I'll see you in the comments if you have any questions about those two stress tests. And until the next video, don't forget to stay invested.